Thank you, man. All right, so we're talking about the Lamb of Elohim today. Behold the Pesach, the Passover Lamb. Amen. So we kind of started this, Saturday, and we're picking it up, today. And, what we're speaking to is the hidden story of Pesach, the hidden story of Passover. See, everyone's familiar with the story of Passover in that's in Exodus, right? But a lot of people were kind of caught off guard when Yahshua came and became the Passover. The people during his day and time, they were caught off guard, and didn't recognize that he was there to actually, become that Passover. And so, seeing that Yah tells us that he declares the end from the beginning, I don't want us to be caught off guard in the last days, because there's another fulfillment of Passover that's coming. Amen.
Amen.
And so hence I speak of this as the hidden story of Passover. So that said, let's jump back in, and we're gonna pick it up with Exodus 12:43. It says, and Yahuwah said unto Moshe and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. And so he began to enumerate these standards or ordinances concerning the Passover. And when we get down to verse 46, it says, in one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. So in one house it shall be eaten. And you're like, okay, Pastor, that big deal. Okay, we're just gonna eat it in one house. And yeah, on the surface, that's what it speaks to, but there's a spiritual aspect to this, because you have to consider that there was actually two houses of Israel. Yeshayahu 8:13 says, sanctify Yahuwah and host himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. See, when this time comes, it's going to be very fearful. It's going to be very dreadful, and I'm afraid that many people are going to falter, and even because you can see aspects of it even in our day and time, but what I want you to get into your hearts and minds, what I want you to let be your guide is that Yahuwah Shavuot, Yahuwah hosts. Let him be your fear.
Yep.
Let him be your dread. Many of you may hear me say, point to scripture and say, this is my truth. We're living in a day and during a time when you can only believe half of what you see and just about none of what you hear. We're living in a day and time when they can take a still photo and make it look like it's speaking words. We're living in a time whereby they can cause images to appear out of thin air in 3D. So they just truly look like whatever you're looking at. Only thing, they're an illusion. Call it hologram. Amen.
Amen.
Technology has advanced to the point to where it seriously can fool you. And if you think it's only being used for entertainment, then you're sadly mistaken. So like I said, we're living in a time where you can only believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, So I choose to believe what I read in scripture. Amen.
Amen.
That's my truth. Be it right, be it wrong. That's my truth. I'll live by that and I'll die by that. And this is what Yeshayahu 8:13 is saying, let sanctify Yahuwah Zawo, sanctify him, set him apart, and let him be your fear and your dread.
Yep.
And then verse 14 says, And he shall be for a sanctuary, but a stone of stumbling for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Now, hereby we learn that there are two houses of Israel. Hence, he says both, speaking to two, right? All right. You know, also consider 1 Kings 12:21. It says, and when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Yahudah with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. And so hereby in this passage, we see two houses of Israel, house of Yahudah and the house of Israel. You know, so there was in fact two houses of Israel, you know, the house of Israel and the house of Yahudah. And as a third witness, we have Yirmiyahu 3:18. In those days, the house of Yahudah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they should come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your father. You know, so I pray that you can see that there. When we're talking about, you know, when we're talking about eating the lamb in one house, an aspect or perspective of looking at that is, you know, there's only one house of Israel that it should be eaten in. Now the question becomes, which house? Is it the house of Yahudah or the house of Israel? You know, and so we're gonna go to scripture to find out. No, I think I already just said that. Yeah, we don't need to eat the Passover in one house. Or is it okay to eat it wherever you are in, or wherever you want to do so? You know, and you know, that is not the case, but some people seem to think so. But just to go on, let's go to Deuteronomy 12. Let me have my first reader read verses 8 through 14, please.
You shall not do after the things that we do here this day, every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which Yahuwah your Elohim giveth you. But when ye go over Jordan and dwell in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim giveth you to inherit, and when he giveth you rest from all your enemies round about, so that ye dwell in safety, then there shall be a place which Yahuwah your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which ye vow unto Yahuwah. And ye shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim, ye and your sons and your daughters, and your men servants and your maid servants, and the Levite that is within your gates, for as much as he hath no part nor inheritance with you. Take heed to yourselves that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest, but in the place which Yahuwah shall choose, in one of thy tribes, there thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, and there thou shalt do all that I command thee.
Hallelujah. So first of all, we want to recognize that the more that things change, the more they remain the same. Hallelujah. You know, and what I mean by that is, you know, when this was speaking, it's very similar to our state of affairs today. You know, Deuteronomy 12:8 really speaks to what's happening in our day and time. It says, ye shall not do after the things that we do here this day. Every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. Is this not what we see going on now today? You know, even within the churches, every man do what is right in his own eyes. You know, it's not to be that way. You know, now let us consider verse 11. It says, then there shall be a place which Yahuwah your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you. So, you know, that's where you're supposed to take the offerings of Yahuwah, the place that Yahuwah has chosen to put his name, chosen for his name to dwell there. Verse 13 said, take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest. And some people think that it's okay to give their offerings their sacrifices any and everywhere. You know, I'm not just gonna give it here. I'm gonna give some over here. I'm gonna give some over there. You know, unfortunately, even though that sounds good, you know, that's not the way Yah intended it to be done. He says, take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest. Verse 14 goes on to tell us, but in the place which Yahuwah shall choose, and there thou shalt do all that I command thee. You know, so yes, Yah is an L of specificity. He's like McDonald's in a way. You go there, you order a Big Mac, you know what you're getting. 2 all beef patty, special sauce, that's cheese on sesame seed bun. You can't say hold the tomatoes, hold the sauce. That don't work at McDonald's. If you want that, you got to go to Burger King. Have it your way. You know, but Yah is not the have it your way type L. You're going to take it the way he give it, or you're not going to get it. You know, and that's just how it is. So hereby we learn his wishes. Now, the question now becomes, where did Yah choose to put his name? So we learn here that we're to offer our sacrifices and we're to, you know, keep a sock and everything, you know, follow his commands where he has chosen to put his name. But where did he choose to put his name? And we see in 2 Chronicles 6, 5, and 6, it says, since the day that I brought forth my people out of the land of Mizraim, I chose no city among all the tribes of Israel to build an house in, that my name might be there. So even at this time, he hadn't chose. Neither chose I any man to be a ruler over my people. As of this time, he hadn't chose. But, verse 6, but I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people. So hereby we learn that Yah has chosen the house of Yahudah for us to offer and eat sacrifices to Elohim. Bless you. Hence, this is also where we're to eat Passover. Yet it is important we understand that we as spiritual Israel today are also made up of 2 houses. One house is likened unto the house of Israel. And Israel, the revelation that Yah gave me, you know, concerning Israel is that it's a compound word made up of 3 Hebrew words, Ish, Ra, and El. And the one who wrestles with Ra, evil, and El, short for Elohim, and prevails by holding on to El, or Elohim, that's the one. That's Israel. And that's a wonderful thing. You know, if you're wrestling with good and evil, hold on to the good and prevail by holding on to the good. Wonderful. You know, and whoever does that is a type of spiritual Israel. But one house is likened unto the house of Israel. And Israel, you know, even though they wrestle with good and evil and they seeking to prevail by holding on to that which was good, they worship at Bethel and Dan. Bethel means the house of Elohim. And, you know, okay, Pastor, that is where we're supposed to worship, right? At the house of Elohim. You know, they worship at Bethel and they worship at Dan. Dan means judge. So they worship at the house of Elohim and at the judge's house, at the place of the judges. You know, and this is where the problem comes in at. Because, you know, maybe at one time before Yah chose where he was going to put his name, that would have been okay. But now that he's chosen, that's no longer okay. You know, the other house can be likened unto the house of Yahudah. And Yahudah speaks to those who confess Yahuwah. You know, they confess Yahuwah. You know, they have a problem. You know, they're going to confess, you know, that, hey, Yahuwah is my El, and I'm going to do what he's going to say. Whether it turns out good or turn out bad, you know, I'm rolling with Yahuwah. They confess Yahweh in everything and in every circumstance, and they worship in Jerusalem. Jerusalem speaks to city of peace. The city of peace, and could possibly be interpreted as the teachings of peace. This is where they worship. And this is the place that Yahweh Elohim chose to put his name. So if someone's preaching or teaching, violence, then that's not the place to offer your sacrifices to Elohim. Because that's obviously not a place of peace. Say lie. And if someone's preaching or teaching about what the judge said, or what the government said, over what Yah said, again, that's not the place. But the place that you're to offer your sacrifices is the one that puts Yah over everything. Those who confess Yah as their head, Yah as the means, as their truth, as the means of determining what's good and what's bad. And so you can see in spiritual Israel, there is a difference. There are those who are likened unto the house of Israel, who worship at Bethel and at Dan. They're willing to do, whatever Yah says, as long as it doesn't contradict the judge that's over. But then there are those who are more like the house of Yahudah, who's willing to do whatever Yah said, in spite of, what else it may contradict in the world. Exodus 12:46 says, "In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house. Neither shall thou break it abroad thereof." So you're only to eat it in one house, and that one house is where they confess Yahweh. That's the place that you're supposed to eat the Passover. That's the place you're supposed to offer your sacrifices and keep the commandments of Elohim. Amen.
Amen.
Exodus 12:3. "Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house." A lamb for a house. Consider that for a minute. When they came out of Mitzrayim, there were 600,000 men, plus women and children. Now we're talking a lamb for a house. That's a lot of lamb. That's a lot of sheep, is it not? That's a whole lot of sheep. I just said that. Exodus 12:4 said, "And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it. According to the number of the souls, every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb." They sacrificed one lamb for the nation. But there was also a lamb for every house. Unless the house was too small for a whole lamb, then they share it with another house. The point that I'm trying to get you to see is that Yahshua, yes, ultimately he's the Passover lamb, and all the other lambs are following suit behind that Passover lamb. But just consider, a lot of lambs had to die in order for death to pass over, not just one. I pray that everyone can see that. There was a whole lot of lambs, a whole lot of sheep that had to die for death to pass over, not just one. That one may have been the most important, but there was a whole lot of others that had to be sacrificed for death to pass over. Because you're not going to get enough blood from one lamb to put on 600,000 doorways. Amen. Exodus 12:5 says, "Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. So you have to have an unblemished lamb. In verse 6, and ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Remember when they was about to crucify Yahshua, and they were saying, Pontius Pilate was trying to release him, and he was saying, what you want me to do with your king? And it said all the people joined together and said, crucify him. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill him in the evening. You see how Yahshua fulfilled that? Yes, he truly was the Passover lamb. But there was more than just one lamb that died during the Passover. Romans 8:36 says, as it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. So hereby we learn that we're a type of sheep as well. Can it be that we're a type of sheep that was slaughtered for Passover? Say it loud. Psalms 44:22 says, yea, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Let me have my next reader read Revelation 14, verses 6 and 7, then jump down to verses 12 and 13, and then finally Yochanan 15, 12 and 13.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear Elohim and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. Revelation 12 and 13. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that kept the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write, blessed are the dead which died in the Adonai from henceforth. Yea, saith the Ruach, that they may rest in their labor and their works do follow them. John 12 and 13. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lie down his life for his friends.
Hallelujah. Now, I pray that you can see on what I'm implying here. What I'm implying is there's a type of believer that will be likened unto these other lambs, these other sheep that were sacrificed during Pesach. And when they're slaughtered, this group of other sheep, that will be the final fulfillment of Passover. And that will be during the very end of times, before Yahshua comes back. And so we see here an angel flying, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth. So we see they're going to be preaching the gospel. They're going to be saying, fear Elohim and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. We learn in a couple verses later that they are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. And we see that when they die, it's going to be during the time when the dead will be blessed. When those which die in the Adonai will be blessed. And it speak of their works following. And we know that this is a picture, of the greatest love. For this is what Yahshua taught us, that greater love have no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And also, let us consider Exodus 12, 7 through 11, which teaches us more about the Passover. My next reader, Exodus 12, 7 through 11.
And they shall take out, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in the night, roast with fire and unleavened bread. With bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden with it, or nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover.
All right.
Genesis.
No, that's good. Thank you. All right. So I'm gonna break this down right quick. You may want to take notes on this one. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna do so quickly though. So you may want to take notes. So then you know ahead of time. All right. So it says, and they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses. Okay. So this is speaking about taking of the covenant. Striking it on the two side posts speaks to it going in the ears. The side post represents the ears. Okay. And so you are to hear the words of the covenant. To hear the words of the covenant is not only to audibly hear, but also to do the words of the covenant. And you're to put it on the upper doorpost of the house, of the houses. Now, to put it on the doorpost of the house, you have to take into consideration, of course, that you are the house. We are the temples of Elohim. We are the tabernacles of Elohim. Amen. So if we're going to take of the blood and we're going to strike it on our two side posts, that is, we're going to let the covenant, the words of the covenant go in our ears. That is, we're going to obey the words of the covenant. If we put it on our doorposts, then we're going to put it on our mouths. We're going to put it on our lips. We're going to confess it. You understand? It says in verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh in that night. Nighttime is when there is no light. When there is no light, there is no wisdom. There is no knowledge. There is no understanding that's going forth. Amen. It's nighttime. So if there is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, it's at a minimum, because you do have moonlight or you have a star shining, but it's nighttime. So it's not going to be prevalent. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding won't be prevalent during this time of this Passover. During the time when the death angel comes, there will not be very much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that come from Yah. Now it says that it must be roast with fire. Roast with fire speaks to the fiery trials that one will endure for the covenant's sake. It says that it needs to be eaten with unleavened bread. Unleavened bread is the truth without malice, without wickedness, without the commandments of men. And then it speaks of, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. The bitter herb speaks to the word of Elohim that they have made false or claimed to be false. It says, eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water. Eat not of it raw. That means don't follow anyone who has not been through those fiery trials. Anyone who has not been or being persecuted because of their beliefs, that's the one you don't follow. Or sodden at all with water. To sodden with water, water represents the truth. To sodden is to boil. So if one is boiled or killed with truth, if they're killed with the truth, then they're not going to be of Yah. Because those who are killed with the truth, like, it's true you're a murderer, so I'm going to kill you. It's true you're a thief, And since I done caught you stealing out my house, I'm gonna kill you. You see, you're being killed with the truth, or not so much as for the truth, but with the truth. Now it says, eat not of it raw. Again, eating not of it raw speaks to those who haven't went through any fiery trials. Not following them, nor siding at all with water. Those who have who are being persecuted because they deserve to be persecuted, in other words, because of things that they've done, because of the truth. You're a wicked man, so you're being persecuted, but roast with fire. In other words, those are the ones you want to follow. You want to follow those who have the fiery trials, those who are being scorched, those who are going through the fire for what they believe. His heads with his legs. Roast with fire, his heads with his legs. They're being roasted fire. They're going through fiery trials for what they believe. That's what his head represents. And for their walk, that's what the legs represent. And with the pertinence thereof, speaks to their heart, the midst of them. It speaks to their emotions because of the love that they have for Yah. These are the ones you want to follow. The ones who have that love, that passion for Yah, whose mind is stayed on him, who walk as he walked. And because of it, he's being persecuted for righteousness' sake. Them the ones that you want to follow during this time. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. In other words, you're to do all the commandments, words, and saying of Yahshua. It's not any of them that you shouldn't do. To let some of it remain until the morning. The morning speaks to when Yahshua comes back. For he is the morning star. Let nothing of it remain until the morning speaks to you not leaving no stone unturned, so to speak. You're doing all of Yahshua's commandments, words, and sayings. You're not leaving any of them undone. And that which remain of it until the morning, ye shall burn with fire. And if there are any that you haven't done, you should be going through trials, because of them, even until he come back. And you should eat of it with your loins girded. That is, your loins speak to your mind. And your mind is supposed to be girded with truth. So with your loins girded, speaking to, you should eat it, or you should go through these things because of the truth. Your shoes on your feet, because you're ready to walk in them at any given time. Your staff in your hand, because you're walking out Yahshua's commandments, words, and sayings. You're adhering to his covenant with all the power that's in your hands. And that's what the staff speaks to, your power, your support. And ye shall eat it in haste. And that speaks to doing it in its fullness with everything that is in you. It is Yahuwah's Passover. This is how it's going to be during that time. Scripture speaks of it as being the worst time that the world has ever seen. It's commonly referred to in Scripture as the day of Yahuwah, or in your King James, the day of the Lord. Genesis 22:7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I, my son. He said, behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for a burnt offering? And we know that he was willing to offer up his son as that offering. Amen. If Yahshua offered his first begotten son, then what about the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so forth begotten sons? What do you think he's going to do with them? It says, for Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And if he gave him, wouldn't he give others? Because he came to set the precedence. Yahshua was a trailblazer. He blazed the trail. You know, the trail that we're supposed to walk. Amen. Yochanan 129, the next day, Yochanan seeth Yahushua coming unto him and saith, behold the Lamb of Elohim, which taketh away the sin of the world. You know, I don't know if you know much about sheep, but if they're following the shepherd and the shepherd walk off the cliff, the first sheep walk off the cliff, the second sheep gonna walk off the cliff, the third sheep gonna walk off the cliff, they just gonna keep on walking off the cliff. Say loud. Yahshua said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The only way you're going to come through Yahshua, get through Yahshua and get to the Father is if you walk on that trail that he blazed. As aforementioned, he was a trailblazer, and that blazer led to a door that looks like this. Now, everybody, I'm pretty certain, recognizes that as the door of a coffin. Hence, it's appointed to every man to die. This is the way that Yahuwah blazed for us. This is the way that he showed us to everlasting life. He said, those who seek to save their lives shall lose them. And those who lose them for his name's sake shall save them. This is the way. Luke 9:23, if anyone will come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily, his torture stake, and follow me. When he took up his torture stake, he was not going to have a party. He was going to be tortured to the death. And when these events come to pass, that's going to be the same thing that we have to do. And in the meantime and in between time, that is the very same thing we have to do. We're going to suffer some lightweight persecution in the meantime and in between time, but during the time of the fulfillment, the last part of the fulfillment of the Passover, it's going to be to the death. Romans 8:18 and 19, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed. I don't want you to be worried. I don't want you to be in despair, because those things that we suffer are not even going to be worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of Elohim to be revealed. This happened once in 7,000 years. The first time that it occurred was in September 23rd, 2017. And this was prophesied in Revelations 12, 1 and 2. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. You know, we talked about this during that time. We talked about this after that time. You know, now this passage in Revelation also speaks of a dragon, you know, and a case can be made that there has been a dragon that has followed this sign. You know, we very well could be living in these last days. I believe we are. You know, now, seeing that Yah's days is as 1,000 years to us, you know, if you say, wait a minute, that's 3 months. You know, so I'm not saying that anything's going to happen tomorrow. Nevertheless, the clock has started. And I tell you something that's emphatically true. You can take this to the bank. We're closer today to Yahshua coming back than anybody who has ever lived on the planet before. And tomorrow will be even closer. Revelation 12:5. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, but her child was caught up to Elohim and to his throne. So we see this woman that was spoken of in Revelations 12, 1 and 2. She does give birth to a child, you know, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. but her child was caught up to Elohim and to his throne. Now, who might this child be? No, ma'am. Yahshua was the one that was sacrificed for the nation, but there's a lot of other lambs that's coming. And those lambs that's coming, it is said that they will rule with Yahshua. Revelations 2:25 through 28 gives us some insight. It says, nevertheless, hold fast to what you have until I come. And the one who conquers and who keeps my works until the end, I will give him authority over the nations, and he will shepherd them with an iron rod. He will break them in pieces like jars made of clay, as I also have received from my Father, and I will give them the morning star. So you can very clearly see it is not talking about him, because he's the one speaking. And he says, I will give him, speaking of those who are conquerors, those who overcome, who keeps his works until the end. He says, I will give him authority over the nations, and he will shepherd them with an iron rod. Also, let us consider Revelations 14:1 through 4. It says, I looked, and lo, a lamb. I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of great thunder, and I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women. Hello, unblemished. For they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits of Elohim and to the Lamb. Now hereby we're taught that the 144,000 follows the Lamb everywhere he goes. And where did Yahushua lead them? Even to the torture state. Hence they'll become first fruits of the Lamb of Elohim. Now ask yourself, why does scripture speak to them as first fruits of the Lamb? Why not the first fruits of the Son of Man? Or the first fruits of Yahushua? Or the first fruits of Mashiach? Why do you think it calls them the first fruits of the Lamb?
Because they his spirit.
What kind of fruit do a lamb bring forth? Does not a lamb bring forth fruit of sheep? The fruit of the lamb's womb is sheep. Amen? Am I lying up here? I'm not saying nothing wrong, am I? The fruit of lamb are sheep. This is why it says they're the first fruits unto Elohim and to the Lamb. Because the first fruits of a lamb is going to always be a lamb. Because you don't get cows from sheep. You don't get oxen from sheep. You don't get goats from sheep. Amen? This is why they follow the lead sheep wherever he goes. Matthew 26:28, for this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Yahshua shed his blood. And we're told during Passover to apply that blood to our doorposts. Again, Exodus 12:13, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. This word token is oath in the Hebrew, number 226 in the Strongs. It speaks to evidence, a signal, a distinguishing mark. If Yahushua is our Passover, then how do we apply his blood to our doorposts? For hereby we learn that his blood is our evidence, it's our signal. His blood is our distinguishing mark that causes the plague of death to pass over us. For it shows Yahuwah that we're covenanted with the Lamb of Elohim. So just how and where do we apply the blood of the Lamb? Matthew 26 through 28, it says, and as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. You cannot drink of the cup of Yahshua without getting blood on your lips. And if you are the house of Elohim, when you drink of that cup of his new covenant, you're going to put blood on the upper doorpost. Selah. Now we're to apply the blood of the Lamb by drinking the blood or wine of Yahushua's covenant. Hence, in scripture, blood is synonymous with wine or grape juice. And that's why it doesn't make any difference which one we use. In Genesis 49, to speak to this, Genesis 49:11 says, binding his foal unto the vine and his behind coat unto the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. Also, Matthew 6:34, and to the end, they might provoke the elephants to fight, they showed them the blood of grapes and mulberries. You know, now, unless you think I'm just, I'm stretching it. Also consider Yochanan 15:1, where Yahshua says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husband. What comes from vines? Hallelujah. And when you crush grapes, you get wine. Hereby we learn that Yahushua is the true vine. Hence, it doesn't matter if you're talking about entering into covenant with blood or wine, you're still speaking of entering into covenant with Yahushua. Hence, we put the blood or wine upon our doorpost the same way the apostles did, even by drinking it to enter into covenant with Yahushua. First the natural, then the spiritual. Physical Israel put the blood on their physical houses, but spiritual Israel ought to put the blood on their spiritual houses, which are their flesh bodies, i.e. the tabernacles and houses of Elohim. Hebrews 3:6, but Mashiach as a son over his own house, whose houses are we, if we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm into the end. So you see, we are the houses of Elohim. We're the houses of Mashiach. Know ye not that ye are the temple of Elohim, and that the Ruach of Elohim dwelleth in you? This is 1 Corinthians 3:16. Again, we are in fact the houses of Elohim. We're to apply Yahushua's blood to our upper doorpost, that is our lips or mouth, by drinking of Yahshua's covenant. Psalms 141:3 teaches us that the door of the body is the lips. Set a watch, O Yahuwah, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Also, Micah 7:5, trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. So we see that the doors of lips, the mouth or lips are the doors of the body. Lastly, we're to apply the blood to the two side posts, which speaks to our ears. Hence, we must hear, that is, walk in obedience to the commandments, the commands, words, and sayings of Yahushua's covenant. Every covenant also have words of the covenant. Those words of the covenant are commandments, their ordinances, their statutes. Exodus 12:7, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the house wherein they shall eat it. Now, if we consider that our bodies are a type of house, even as we can see with this house, here is the door, the mouth, the side post can be nothing but the ears, which is on either side. And in Hebrew, to shema is not just to audibly hear, but also to obey and to understand. So I pray that you can now see that there's still yet a fulfillment of Passover to come. And it's going to be by the saints of Elohim. That's all I have for you today. Pray with you.
Yeah.